remember to tag a friend, invite a friend, and let a friend invite a friend. And if at all you've got questions for my guest tonight on the special assignment, I'll be able to ask that question on your behalf, and hoping that my guest will be able to respond to that question. He's not new. He used to come, he has been coming and appeared on different platforms on Muvi TV back then as a member of the opposition United Party for National Development. He said, I'm an aspiring candidate in one of the wards, here in Lusaka, in KAMWALA constituency, and he stood. Now he is a councillor representing KAMWALA Ward 5. Mainda Simataa is my guest. Bwana Councillor, good evening and welcome to the special assignment.
Thank you very much, Kelvin, for inviting me, and good evening to the viewers out there.
Last time that you came, or the last time that we had an interaction on any of the programs here at Muvi TV, you came as a member of the opposition, and now you are coming as a member of the ruling party and also as a councillor, you know, representing the people of KAMWALA Ward 5. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much, and I think we have to say that congratulations are also due to the Zambian people, because they turned out in numbers. The landslide victory was historic. We buried the PF, and I think everybody needs to pat themselves on the back. This is a victory that does not only belong to the UPND, but it's a victory for every Zambian who turned out and cast a vote to redeem and rescue our nation from the hands of corruption, from thuggery and violence.
How does it feel now that you're a member of the ruling party?
Well, physically, I still feel the same, but I think spiritually, like every other Zambian there, we feel that there's a burden that has been lifted over our chests. I think a lot of people, if you ask them to say, how do you feel, especially moving around the cities of Lusaka or Kitwe or Ndola, they'll tell you to say there is a big change, because the atmosphere was heavy with violence, with threats. You couldn't even put on your red t-shirt without being hacked with a panga on your head. I think the violence has cleared. It has just disappeared like that. And I think we owe it to our president, Hakainde, who took the initiative just when he gave his first address, his acceptance address. He did say there shouldn't be any violence, it shouldn't be any kind of revenge or retribution to get back at the PF. Otherwise, if he hadn't said that, I think our youths were ready to do the worst, because for 10 years, for 21 years of the UPND being the opposition, we suffered humiliation, we suffered arrests, we even had our own comrades who were killed. We have over 100 UPND members who are dead and buried as at now, because they died at the hands of a regime that was brutal, a regime that was ready to kill, even to retain power. So I think we have to congratulate the president, Mr. Hakainde, His Excellency, for setting his foot down and saying no violence, no Qatarism. But unfortunately, Comrade Fokolo, the PF has taken the lenience and grace that of President Hakainde and are now mocking our members. They are mocking Zambians and saying, we are still in charge. If we power, but you don't have money, if we tuleria. And it's such sentiments which are very, very dangerous and have the potential to unravel everything that we are trying to do as the UPND, to unite and harmonize the Zambian people so that we can move forward and address issues of development, such as creating employment for the youths, such as ensuring to say that we have proper health care, education, housing, water, and other issues, especially which concern me as a councillor who's in local government.
Now, let's begin with the point that you've stressed, that, you know, you feel like a burden, or a burden has been lifted off your shoulders. And you've talked about the people, members of the now opposition, you know, mocking members of your party. How did you receive the message of, you know, forgiveness, coexisting, and what the president said to say, all those that were oppressing you in markets and bus stations, coexist with them. Just look at them as brothers and sisters. You are a young person. How did you take it in KAMWALA, your ward?
It wasn't easy. Even now, to be honest, it's still not easy. Because personally, I've been a victim of PF thuggery. A lot of, like I've told you, a lot of our comrades and members, some of them are dead. Some of them are maimed. Some of them will never walk again, okay? Just this afternoon, I met Lawrence Banda, A.K. Gaddafi, our Kanyama member who was shot dead in Kaoma. I met the wife. She sells at KAMWALA Market in my ward. And I met Andy. I almost shed tears because I looked at the kind of business she is. I mean, she's still struggling, and those are the people that we have to help as a party to at least do something for them. And I did pledge to say, I think as long as I'm councillor in KAMWALA ward, because she was a victim of harassment, constant harassment by the PF thugs, such that the table or the space that was given, it was just in a corner somewhere where even the customers do not pass. So I made a pledge to her to say, we are going to bring her back to the place that she previously occupied, and we'll see ways in which we can help. So it's not easy to forgive the PF, but in the interest of national unity and harmony, I think we have to rise above that anger. We have to rise against the pain that we feel. It's not an easy thing, because especially our youths, especially our cadres who had suffered much, it's not an easy thing for them to do. But President Hakainde Hichilema, I think, has prevailed and really assured the youths to say, look, if we go by the policy of an eye for an eye, I think we'll make every Zambian blind. There will be bloodshed. So we didn't want to take that direction, especially as leaders. I think we have also participated in calming our youths, in calming our members, telling them to say, don't take revenge, don't fight back those that used to oppress you. It's not easy. Even tomorrow, as I'm speaking to you, I still have a case that is active in court, and I'll be appearing for a charge that I was given along with 3 others for assaulting a PF cadre. Meanwhile, he's the one who assaulted us. So you see that the injustice that was perpetrated by the PF is still in progress. Even some of the mess that I've done, a lot of mess has been done in the markets. Like, I've spent 2 weeks constantly trying to see what the problems are and trying to address them. All the key areas of the market, you talk about garbage, you talk about security, you talk about shop ownership, you talk about drainages, you just talk about the general market management. It's in a mess. And I can tell you for a fact, and I want to tell the Zambians there to say that the PF are still, it is true that the PF are still in the markets. And the way they are doing it systematically is that they are hiding under the guise of saying, no, there is no Qatarism, so don't take us out of the market. And they are still occupying key positions, not just at the markets, but even at other levels of government. And this is something that really is upsetting and unsettling not only UPND members, but even Zambians, because they are suffering some of these cadres who are still trying to tarnish our image. You saw on social media there was a receipt that went viral. Not only that receipt, that went viral for City Market, where those 3 guys were collecting money illegally. There was also the issue of people who were impersonating Lusaka City Council officials by wearing those aprons and issuing fake receipts and IDs. They are still collecting money from booths. It's the whole criminal syndicate is still running. But we are in place. We were just sworn in last Friday. Our minister, Honorable Gary Nkombo, was just appointed yesterday. So the system is waking up, and the system is going to fight back, and we are going to fight back with everything that we have. Not to punish the PF, but to ensure to say that justice prevails. If there is anybody who wants to take advantage of President Hakainde Hichilema's directive not to continue with the thuggery, and they think they can continue with that thuggery by taking advantage of President Hakainde Hichilema's mercy, I think they are going to meet head-on with the law, and they'll be dealt with as they should be.
When you say the PF are still in charge and they are still in markets, and they are saying because there is no Qatarism, so you can't chase us, if at all the PF, when you say the PF, I want to believe you mean human beings.
Yes.
Or people that belong to PF. If they are in markets, are they committing crimes, or are they being unruly, or they are playing to the game and they're just conducting their businesses? Why are you so, for lack of better term, or putting words in your mouth, why are you agitated to see PF members, men and women, trading in markets?
They are not just there as you must understand, Comrade Kelvin, that Qatarism is organized crime. Okay. Qatarism is an organized syndicate of criminals who put themselves in strategic places of trade in order to extort money from the public, in order to extort money from the system. Okay? And over the period of 10 years, these guys have entrenched themselves in the system. I'll give you an example, okay? As I'm speaking to you, right now as I'm speaking to you, this is perhaps a few minutes after 20 hours. There is a syndicate where these PF guys are putting booths. They are erecting booths. These money, Airtel money, MTN booths. They are putting those booths at night. They put booths. Nobody's there. Okay. I don't know if they are still conniving.
Is it against the law?
Of course, it's against the law. You just can't wake up and put a booth there without going through the proper channel, because you have to go through the market authority. You have to go through the market advisory committee. or through Lusaka City Council, you are given a permit to put up a booth. But these guys are still carrying on the illegal trade of allocation, illegal allocation of booths, illegal allocation of market spaces. In the dark of night, when you wake up in the morning, you just find to say there are 6-7 booths that are going on. I'll give you another example. These guys are still in the bus stations, okay? And the way they are doing it, they are continuing what they call their chilimba. And this chilimba, you know, if you are in the compounds, you are used to chilimba whereby you contribute money. That is not the kind of chilimba that is there. The kind of chilimba what the drivers talk about is where money is contributed. It's like a fund. You contribute a fund into a pool of fund for bus drivers. And when there are problems, something like a funeral or you are sick, they take out some money and give to you. But unfortunately, that system was abused in such a way that only a few people were benefiting from that. So they are still running that issue. There's another issue of garbage. Okay, if you pass through Independence Avenue, if you're coming from Kafio roundabout, there is a garbage heap there at KAMWALA. Would you believe that that garbage heap was deliberately put in front where everybody can see it, even if the president is driving from State House to Kafio Road? When he passes there, he will look at it and he will see it. And it was deliberately put there in order to force to extort money for garbage collection. These guys, there's a company. This is the company, okay? This is a company. I won't mention the name, but this is a company that was contracted through Lusaka City Council to be collecting garbage, okay? This company was there for 2-3 years. They never did anything. KAMWALA was a mess in terms of garbage, but after just reformed government, these guys have got the audacity to write to me to say they are resuming operations. Where were they all this long? Where were they all this long when the garbage heaps were rising? So these are the kind of criminal syndicates that still exist, that are still running contracts in garbage. They are still in the bus stations. They are still erecting booths. They're still giving space. And they're carrying out all sorts of criminal activities in the market just to make money. And it is not a foregone conclusion to say that some of these PF thugs are actually in the system. They're actually in the system.
When you say some of these thugs are in the system, what kind of a system are you talking about? Which system? System at the council?
I'm talking
system
about
at the markets or system at
I'm talking about at local government level. Okay? I'm talking about people who are at the gates collecting levies. I'm talking about even the person who's in the toilet collecting toilet money. I'm talking even about somebody who's going to collect money from booths.
We've been told that council, Lusaka City Council are collecting money, and we were told by TC and the amount that they have managed to collect so far.
The city council has been infiltrated by PF thugs. That's one thing you have to understand. Over the period of 10 years, there was mass infiltration at all government, all ministries, all levels of government. There was infiltration. You had to be a PF cadre, a hardcore PF cadre for that matter, for you to get any position of authority. So it is not a foregone conclusion that even in local government, in the council, at the bus stations, by the gates, by the booths, in garbage collection, in the collection of levies, in allocation of shops, especially allocation of shops. Some PF cadres, we have intelligence information that one cadre can own 15 shops, another one owns 10 shops, one even has 50 booths. What kind of a country are we running here? If they are going to have, one person is going to have 50 booths, what kind of empowerment are we going to give other people to have booths? They occupy the entire space. So these guys have created an economic cartel within themselves where all the money that was being made out of these stations was going into their pockets. And because we are a new government, we are still learning the system, we are still learning those cartels, how they used to operate, they still continue to make that money. And that is why they have the audacity to even say, you are in power, but for in the what do they say? The government is yours, but the money is ours. They still have the audacity to say that, and that is what really is upsetting a lot of people, because these guys have continued in their arrogance. So they are PF thugs, they are PF malcontents who are still in positions of authority, and we are happy that we have been given Honorable Gary Nkombo, because Honorable Gary Nkombo is a disciplinarian. He's a person who follows the law by the letter, and he's a non-compromise kind of person. And we are very happy as councillors, we are very happy as Lusaka City Council that the local government minister who's been given to us is equal to the task. And I think working with him, you saw this afternoon, he was in Soweto on the ground to see for himself what is really going on in the ground. Some of these ministers we had in the PF, they had never even set foot in a station. They don't even know what Soweto market looks like, but they were calling themselves Minister of Local Government. But here is a Minister of Local Government. In his first day of his office, he does not go and sit in his posh office on his sofa and start giving press statements. He was on the ground to see what the people are enduring, and he has seen for himself what the people are enduring. So when we relate to such kind of minister, he will be able to understand the issues when we say we have problems in the stations, in the markets, with drainage, with water, and all those things. So there is a lot to be done in the markets. There is a lot to be done in the wards in terms of ensuring, say, that deliveries, such local government delivery services, water, sanitation, housing are put in place. And above all, Comrade Kelvin, the issue of providing empowerment and jobs for our youths is top priority, because every day you wake up in my phone, you're on WhatsApp, you will see 50 messages saying, Honorable, I need a job, I have these qualifications, or I'm in school, I can't afford to pay for my fees. The problems are many, and we need to start organizing this country to get on track in terms of the economy, so that we can provide jobs and opportunities for the youths who were the majority who voted for UPND, and they are waiting for us to deliver.
You've talked about the system being littered by, members of the party, the former ruling party, now in the opposition, and you've said you are learning the system. And you've praised the new minister in charge of local government. First of all, before I go to the minister, let's talk about the bus drivers. You've talked about Chirimba. Have bus drivers come to you as a councillor to complain, to say monies are being extorted through Chirimba? Or you are just against Chirimba, and that is why you're not comfortable with it?
Comrade Kelvin, the things that I speak about are things that I'm experiencing firsthand. On Wednesday, I was called at Kawata police station, because there were some bus drivers they had differed amongst themselves, okay? They had differed amongst themselves because they have what they call a rota for the same Chirimba, okay? They collect money from all the bus drivers, and I don't know, I still don't know how the sharing system is, but it's like some bus drivers do not benefit from that so-called Chirimba. And these were the people who reported their fellow bus drivers. At Kawata, if you want, you can go there. You find the case is there. They reported their fellow bus drivers and said, Abandarama mabasezi vatenga, but it's a benefit. So it tells you to say that there is some sort of cartel arrangement, even amongst the bus drivers, in that so-called Chirimba. And the system, the way it used to work, under the PF, they would collect money. It was mandatory to collect money from all the bus drivers every day. And this money was shared amongst the cadres. The bus drivers didn't have any share of it. If they had any share of it, it was just those bus drivers who were PF cadres who were the beneficiaries. So this system has continued. But what has happened is that the PF cadres, or the people who are running that system, have decided to be a little bit accommodative. And when I say they are being accommodative, it means they are striking compromises with their fellow drivers to say, but you also become beneficiaries. And I want to tell you, and I want to inform the Zambian people, that the PF thugs, the PF cadres who are trying to flash out of these positions of power, these guys have got a lot of money. They've got millions of dollars at their disposal. And they're trying to use this money to buy leaders. Okay, to buy our own leaders in bus stations, to buy our leaders in markets, to ensure to say that musa change structure. They don't want that old PF structure of thugs to change, and so they're trying to pay off a few officials so that they can maintain those structures. And we are.
Do you have evidence for that? And if you have evidence, what is it that is stopping you?
What is stopping me from doing what?
You've talked about the structures that the PF guys or members of the PF are using money to make sure that the structures don't change. And if at all you've got that evidence, why? What is it that you're waiting for? Because structures have to change.
We are acting on it. Yes, structures have to change, but there is resistance. Okay, there is the resistance from the PF thugs, the PF cadres who used to run those systems. They are now, some of them are even wearing UPND t-shirts overnight. You know what happened on the election day? Overnight, they changed t-shirts and we started wearing red t-shirts. In fact, most of the crimes that are taking places in these trading areas are being committed by PF cadres wearing red shirts. They'll just say, "Ndisewa UPND tafika pana mabuthi tipase ni 100 kwacha. Ndisewa UPND tabwera." Those are the things that they are doing in the name of the UPND. That's why, comrade, as the media, you have to be careful when you are doing your reporting, when they say UPND cadres are now doing what PF cadres are doing. No, these guys are trying to tarnish the image of President Hakainde and of the UPND by infiltrating. And I'm glad that our structures, our leaders are very steadfast. I'm able to give you this report because it has come from the structures who are saying these guys are attempting to bribe key leaders in position of power so that they can remain in those structures. But we are not going to let those structures stand. We are going to dismantle them. We just had a minister of local government yesterday. He's less than 24 hours in office. We must give him time to settle in office so that we liaise with us councillors who are on the ground, so that we can dismantle these structures, because these structures are syndicates of crime. These structures are syndicates of violence. These people are still carrying their guns, they are still carrying their pangas. It's only that they have sort of dispersed. They have run away. Francis Muchemwa, the suspect who is believed to have shot Lawrence Banda in Kam, where is he today? He's in South Africa. He has run away. A lot of these thugs...
Because your members wanted to kill him. We received a lot of reports that UPND members were after members. And even the Secretary General said we are not sleeping in our homes because we are afraid.
Nobody is after Francis Mchemwa's blood. Francis Mchemwa ran by himself. That's why they said the guilty. I was afraid. He ran for himself because he knew what he had done. If he was innocent, why didn't he stay in this country to face the law? The widow of Lawrence Banda is selling. They have told you she's selling in KAMWALA market, where I'm councillor. Her child has been orphaned, okay, because some of these guys took the law into their own hands and committed so many crimes. So what we are saying is that we want to correct those injustices, and these people must be subjected to the rule of law. As far as markets are concerned, as far as bus stations are concerned, we are going to clean them up. If there are thugs, PF thugs and PF cadres there who still think they can hide their criminality in the name of one Zambia, one nation, in the name of unity and peace, they are taking advantage of that. And if you have noticed, you know, the president did say nobody should be harassed. He did say that nobody should be harassed for wearing their regalia. Okay? But these guys still look like they're in campaign mood. Because everywhere you go, you still find them wearing their regalia very proudly, and even mocking our people. And I think that is very distasteful. That is a recipe for anarchy, because if they continue on like that, I don't think the UPND members and UPND cadres will take that kindly. Because, like I told you, it's not easy to forgive when you have suffered for 21 years under a corrupt regime, under a regime of violence where members of yours have died. Remember Vespers. Remember Vespers. Just give me a minute. Remember Vespers. Okay? Remember Mapenzi Chiwulo. These were youths like you and me. And today they are in the ground. Do not think that that can be forgotten easily. Maybe it can be forgiven, but it cannot be forgotten. And I think the people who were perpetrators of that violence, who led to the deaths of so many people, I think they should be humble enough and accept that President Hakainde is a man of peace. They are only where they are today without being harassed because of the pronouncement that His Excellency President Hakainde made to say, do not harass anyone, do not beat up anyone. That's why they are there. I think they should be thankful, and I think they should humble themselves, because if they do not, it will be very difficult to restrain the youth from trying to get some sort of justice. And that is what we have been doing as councillors. We are literally asking the youth to say, please stay calm and wait for what President Hakainde has in store for you.
Bwana Councillor, you've talked about people, former members of PF or still members of PF, putting on UPND regalia and, you know, impersonating UPND members. And now, if this is what is happening, and you said the media should be careful when we report that these are UPND members, let me ask you, the people that you arrested, you are at the center of arresting those people who are collecting money, you know, putting on those, you know, reflectors of showing that they are council workers. Were those UPND members, or they are part of the people that you are calling PF members, disguising themselves as UPND members?
Those were PF thugs. Those were PF thugs, because look, I told you these people have been operating a crime organization or a syndicate of crime, okay, where they have controlled all areas of revenue in markets and bus stations. But because they have quickly learned to say that the council is the only institution that has been authorized to collect any kind of money, any kind of revenue in markets and bus stations. Because they have learned that system, what they are trying to do is to integrate themselves in that system, okay, by wearing council aprons, by getting IDs. And we have intelligence information that some of these people, in the space, in these same 2 weeks, between the elections and now, some people have just been employed, okay? There's some people have been quickly employed in the system. In order to protect themselves from being flashed out. And we have the names of those people. They should not think we are safe. Just because we have not acted on it doesn't mean we don't know. So what we are saying is that the PF thugs, the PF cadres, I don't like to call them cadres because they are thugs. Cadres, if you really examine that term, it's a respectable, term. These guys are thugs. So these thugs have infiltrated the system and are working from within the system to protect their crimes, their illicit businesses, which they are even doing at night. These guys are still there and they are still making money. That is the fact.
Comrade Councillor, are we going to reach a stage, because we used to complain us as media under the PF, that whenever a PF guy was arrested because of doing something wrong, the party would distance itself and say, that is not our member. Now there are people that are committing these crimes. The UPND, and you as a councillor, you're still saying, those are not our members. Have you not, copped what the PF were doing by disowning their members and people because they have found themselves on the wrong side of the law?
Not at all. If you look at all the cases that have been followed up, okay, if you dig deep into all the cases of impersonation of council officials, of making of fake receipts so that they begin to collect levies, if you do your investigations, you find that these are people who joined the UPND 2 weeks ago. What kind of a member joins UPND 2 weeks ago and calls himself a bona fide? These are opportunists. That is opportunism. That is political opportunism. That, in fact, is thuggerism at its lowest. Because these guys think that by joining UPND at the 11th hour, that their crimes are going to be shielded. These are people who are going so far, I've mentioned before, that these are people who are going so far as trying to bribe UPND leaders so that they can be protected. No, tizam pasani 10,000 or 20,000, lekani tisare market muno, tikazi sebenza. Tizam pasani 50,000, lekani let us continue controlling my bus stations. We have all those problems, okay? These guys think that they can get away with anything simply by paying money, okay? And these guys still have connections. And I'm even sorry that we have 1 or 2 bad seeds in the Zambia police who facilitated these guys, okay? Because these guys, they bought the system, okay? They corrupted the system. The system was even at a point of collapse, okay? And I want to say to the Zambia police, we are glad that we have a new inspector general. I'm appealing to the inspector general. Can he look within his ranks and instill discipline and integrity? Because we still have some people in the lower structures of the police who are PF. Remember, the PF used to recruit its cadres. Somebody has no integrity, no morality, no humanity, and they just push them in. Go to ZNS, go to ZAF, go to Zambia Army, go into the police. Those are some of the people who were trigger happy, who used to shoot people who protested who were not being armed. Mapenzi Chiwulo died at a bullet of a trigger happy officer. Nsama, the prosecutor, and Joseph Msonda, they died at the hands of officers who were trigger happy. We want those officers who did that, because that exhibition, it cannot come from a professional trained police officer. That can only come from a cadre who was saving PF interests. So there needs to be a cleanup at every level of government so that we can have sanity in the way we are operating.
You are still learning how the system works, but again, you've already gathered some facts and what is happening in markets. We have a new Minister of Local Government, and you are very happy and proud as a councillor and as council. What are some of the first projects or steps that you expect the new minister to take charge and bring sanity in markets and bus stations, like the way you've put it?
The first thing is to rid the markets, the bus stations, and the streets of cadres and thugs. I'm talking about PF cadres and thugs. Because, believe you me, I used to think that the biggest problem in Zambia, the biggest thing that really touched the hearts of Zambians and made the hearts of Zambians to be upset with the PF regime, I used to think it is hardship, economic hardship and poverty. But believe you me, it is no longer poverty and hardship. The one thing that really upset Zambians, that made Zambians turn out in their millions to cast a vote of protest against the PF government, against the PF regime, against the former President Edgar Lungu, the thing that made them turn out to vote in President Hakainde with a landslide victory was because they did not want Qatarism. They hated Qatarism, and they still hate Qatarism. And Qatarism can either bring you down or raise you up, depending on how Zambians treat it. So Zambians right now, they are so sensitive to anything that has to do with Qatarism. And if they see any leader or a government that seems to be entertaining Qatarism, and when I say Qatarism, I'm talking about thugs and their violent tendencies, harassing people just for wearing, you heard about that lady who was harassed just for wearing a red scarf. That kind of harassment, that kind of intimidation on the bus stations, in the streets, and in the communities, where these guys were even going to lengths whereby they were now even at breaking through these shops, harassing foreigners, taking whatever they wanted. That cannot be allowed to continue. So the first priority, and I think Honorable Gary Nkombo is very much aware of this, is to clean up these public spaces, to rid them of Qatarism, thugism, and whatever violent tendencies are present there. That is the first thing, because what Zambians want above everything else is to have an environment of peace, whereby if you are walking in town, you don't have to look over your shoulder to see which cadre is behind you. When you are getting on a bus, you don't have to look over your shoulder to see which cadre is receiving money. They don't want Qatarism. So the first priority is Qatarism. Then after that, we can look into now the usual issues of local government: service delivery, collection of garbage, provision of clean water and sanitation, the building of markets, like in KAMWALA South, for example, where there is the KAMWALA South market. That market is very big. It's got over 500 shops. And out of those 500 shops, there are only maybe 7 or 8 that are operating, because the place became a den of crime. The same PF thugs used to hide in those shops because it wasn't secured. So there is need to improve on infrastructure in terms of markets, and ensure to say that we build infrastructure where our marketeers do not have to be on the streets every time, but they can have a proper place to trade, which has got all the amenities such as toilets and running water. That is one thing that we are going to do. And another thing which is a priority is the building of community amenities. We're talking about schools and especially hospitals, like in KAMWALA, where I'm coming from. The old clinic, which is the only clinic actually in KAMWALA, which is just in town, in fact, is overwhelmed because it is used by so many people from surrounding communities. So what we need in KAMWALA Ward 5 is a level 1 hospital, at least. That is centrally located. There is already land for that. And I'm afraid to say that the former MP of Kabata, I don't even like to call him honorable, because there's nothing honorable about
him. Okay, you can just say Vice President of the PF.
The Vice President of the PF. That man really messed up Kabata. Mr. Lubinda bought almost every bare piece of land in Kabata. Mr. Lubinda got a land that was...
And I can say that Mr. Lubinda, or Vice President Lubinda, is not here to defend himself. And if at all you've got evidence, it would be good if you can just sue him and take those, matters to court. Because he's not here to defend himself.
I'll invite you as Muvi TV to KAMWALA Ward 5, and I'll show you a place which is called the Given Lubinda Foundation. He's built a so-called Given Lubinda Foundation there. But if you go to the council and check the records, that space was meant for a market. He gets a market which is supposed to benefit the community of KAMWALA and builds a so-called Given Lubinda Foundation, and nothing happens there. So those are some of the issues. So we have to look into some of those issues. There is land which was illegally allocated. In fact, this morning I received a call from KAMWALA South to say there was land that was preserved from the market. PF cadres got that land for themselves and shared. If you know where Goldcrest Mall, where there's Goldcrest Mall, behind, there was land that was bare. If you go there today, you find apartments at window level. So all those things are injustices that need to be revisited. And like I've said, I think Honorable Gary Nkombo is the right man for the job to ensure to say that local government is cleaned up. Because local government is different from central government. Local government is at the place, at the ground where you live with people. Councillors, we don't live away from the people. MPs, of course, from time to time, they have to come to Parliament and they live at Parliament Motel. But if you are a councillor, you live in the community. At 05, you have a knock. And when I'm telling you they will knock at 05, people will knock at your door at 05. I'm not joking. This morning, people were knocking at my door at 05. You see that kind of thing. So you are on the ground. On the ground. When they see our blocks, it is you they are going to call the councillor. They won't call Lusaka and Water and Sewerage Company. They are going to say, "Councillor, chidanki chafwasa, musachitapo bwanji. Councillor manzi siya pita, musachitapo bwanji. Councillor wakawala la bapaka." And when we say wakawala la bapaka, this is the PF thugs, because some of them, a lot of them are out of stations. They've got nothing to do. What do they do next? They are terrorizing people. And as I'm speaking to you, there is one chap who's at Kabata Police KAMWALA police post, okay? He was arrested because he's moving with tasers, tunsimbi, knives, attacking people at night. So we are going to have a very big security situation, and I think we are ahead of the time when I say security, because we have to institute neighborhood watches. That's one of the programs in KAMWALA 5. We have to institute neighborhood watches to back up the shortfall in terms of manpower to the police, because when these guys are going to come out of the markets, and they are coming out of the markets, believe you me, they used to make millions which they used to waste. I don't know what they used to do with that money, but they no longer have the free hand that they had in markets and bus stations to make that free money. So now that most of them are out, and the rest that are remaining are going to go out, where do you think they are going to go and make their money? They will now be hiding in communities, robbing and terrorizing people, and we won't allow that, because we are going to go there again with the police, with neighborhood watches, and institute patrols until these people, if they want to continue with the criminality, they have to go and take some time off in Chimbo.
I'm happy that you've mentioned that there are people that were removed from markets and they don't have anything to do, and now they have resorted in terrorizing people. You earlier talked about issues of empowerment, that you need to empower people in KAMWALA Ward 5, especially the youths that worked for or voted for President Hakainde Chilema and the UPND. What sort of empowerment do you intend to give to the people of KAMWALA Ward 5 and these young people, and how do you intend to do it?
Thank you very much for that question, Comrade Kelvin. Empowerment comes in different forms, okay? When we speak about empowerment, we are speaking about finding a solution to the unemployment situation which is facing the majority of the young people. For the first time ever in the history of this country, you have jobless doctors. Imagine, jobless doctors. You never hear about jobless doctors. I don't know if there's any country in the world where you can find a jobless doctor, because the crisis of healthcare is global. To train a medical doctor, it takes more than 7 years before somebody can really become a fully baked doctor. Maybe you're talking about 14 or 15 years. But here we are in this country. We have graduates, not only doctors, but also nurses. According to the latest HPCZ bulletin, we have about 50,000 jobless nurses, maybe 10,000 or so, or 600 or so jobless doctors. So when you have such a situation, it tells you to say that the unemployment situation in Zambia has reached a critical level. It has become a pandemic, okay? We have over 100,000. You've got over 100,000 college graduates coming out of colleges every year. 100,000 college graduates coming out of colleges every day. You have about 250,000 school leavers coming from high school every year. The last statistics I checked from the United Nations Labour Organization say that Zambia has to create, I think, about 1 million jobs a year just to catch up with the people that are coming into the labour market. And you can see to say that the government of Zambia, the public service, the public service is bloated. The government is full of people, some of them who are not even getting paid. You know about the issue of the 3,000 teachers who were employed 2020 by the PF, these thugs. How can you employ people without putting them on salary? That is pure criminality. And it was done because that was some kind of election strategy to buy the teachers, because the teachers make a very useful and formidable pool of voters. There are almost about 300,000 trained teachers. So it shows you to say that if these people can employ people without paying them, there is a government crisis. You have got about 60% of the government budget, or the national budget, going towards emoluments. 40% is going towards the debt servicing. So there is no money that is left to employ more people. So we have to look at other alternatives to say, if we can't create jobs in the government, what else can we do? And that's where we come to empowerment. So we're talking about skills empowerment. Before you can empower some people, you have to train them. Because if a youth just comes out of school or drops out of school, they have no skill, they can't be a tailor, they can't do a craft, they can't be a mechanic. You have to skill them. A short course maybe of 6 months or 9 months. Thereafter, you give them some sort of empowerment. This country is not poor. It was simply poorly managed. It was managed by thugs. Some of them who've got millions of dollars, and you even know to say that some of them have been moving money out of the country. Some of them, their accounts have been frozen. So this country is not too poor to have resources to empower its people. It only needs good leaders in position of power who are going to ensure to say that whatever resources are being gotten from this country, some of those resources must be channeled into empowerment programs in the community, at local government, where the people are. So they need to be empowered with skills. They need to be empowered with money. We need to form cooperatives, self-help groups. And I'm glad, that's why I love marketeers, because marketeers are enterprising. If a marketeer has got 2 boxes of tomatoes today, just simply buy her another 2 boxes of tomatoes. She will have 4 boxes. And her capital base would have been raised. She will be able to do more things from those things. So we are asking Zambians, we are asking youths, can you come up with business enterprises? Some of them, I'm glad, I meet friends all the time. Some of them are selling shoes. Some of them are selling clothes. They are trying to do something. All that they need is help. And this is where we are asking central government to work hand in hand with the local government to create opportunities which do not disadvantage Zambians at the expense of so-called foreign investors. I mean, why should we have somebody coming from Asia only to roast meat? I mean, to sell chickens in Shaba Parod? What is a Zambian going to do? So some of these areas must become, some of the economic sectors must become protected sectors, so that we can have more Zambians going into those sectors.
Let's go back to the issue of garbage. You talked about the letter that was written to your office.
Yes, this letter here. Yes.
By a company that was given or awarded that contract to be collecting garbage. Issues of garbage in KAMWALA Ward 5. The company has written to you. Working with this company, another company that will be awarded a contract, how do you intend to tackle the issue of garbage so that it becomes a thing of the past and not people complaining and knocking on your door to say, "Wakansela magarbage ya paka kwatu"?
Thank you very much for that question. Let me say this first. I was very disappointed when I received this letter, and I did show it to the market committee in KAMWALA, because look, we are new in office. There are people who've been in the market longer than us who understand how these things used to work. So when I received this letter, I sat with the market committee and they said, what is this company all about? And they told me frankly that this company has been a failure. This company was not just this garbage collection company, was not just assigned to collect garbage in KAMWALA, where there's a heap just across Zambif, the main Zambif branch in KAMWALA. The rubbish heap, Chala, is just a few meters away. Okay? They deliberately put that rubbish dump there so that people could be forced to pay money. But the point is this company failed, and this company was given contracts not to just collect from KAMWALA. There was Emersdale, there was Charleston, there was the Town Center. The same company had over 6 tenders. 6 tenders, one company just giving the tenders in different names. This same company, and it lamentably fell. If you were going through a Freedom Way in Osaka, you saw now those middle lanes. Okay, I don't know what they call them, but you know those things where there are trees. Yes, those the middle spaces. That's where they began to heap. People were just heaping garbage there, and it became an eyesore because of this same company which was getting money but not collecting. But now this same company wants to come back and say, we are the one who was awarded a contract by the Osaka City Council, and everybody must comply or else we take legal action. What kind of right do they have? They must realize to say that the government has changed, and they are not going to be intimidating marketeers, prescribing their own fees and giving themselves contracts. So this particular company, I can assure you, and I want to assure my people there in KAMWALA to say this company will never see daylight. They will never ever again operate from KAMWALA market. And I'm going to in short say that this one is fought. Wherever they go, they will be fought. Even in Osaka City Chambers, they are going to be fought, because this was a conduit of corruption. This was a conduit of crime. They were getting money from marketeers for over 3 years, yet they never did any job. Now they still want to come back and say, we are the ones who got the license. If they go, let them go and get money from the people who gave them the license. So this thing will be followed up. But as far as I'm concerned, we are going to revise the entire tender procedure as regards the garbage collection, and we will give people the responsibility to get garbage who are able to deliver. We want people who are able to deliver, and who are able to deliver at a fee that is reasonable. Zambians are suffering. Marketeers can hardly pay their rent in their shops, and then somebody comes with 170 kwacha and says, pay this or else we are going to sue you. Who is he going to sue? I would have mentioned names, but I don't want to embarrass them on television. I've just kept that to myself. But they are going to be confronted in the coming days, and they just must know to say that we will have nothing to do with them, because we do not condone corruption, we do not condone people who extort money from marketeers, yet they fail to deliver in terms of service delivery.
Let's talk about some reforms, if at all there are some reforms or proposals that you want to take to the chambers, and so that you enhance the smooth running of the council. Are there any reforms that you would say, okay, here we need to pass some reforms so that we enhance the service delivery to the people, not only in KAMWALA Ward 5, but working hand in hand with other councillors here in the city of Lusaka?
The reforms are many. The reforms are many, but like I said in my preamble, the major reform should be to ensure to say that the whole system of how the council runs is structured in such a way that it is transparent and it does not give room for people to start engaging in corruption. That's the first reform that we need. It should be an anti-corruption reform. That is the first reform that is needed. Of course, when it comes to service delivery, we're talking about delivery of water supply, sanitation, roads, and other social amenities. There also has to be reforms in those areas, which are going to ensure to say that service delivery is delivered, and it's delivered at a fair price. The major reason why we have Vishala in all over the compounds, all over the streets, is because people in the communities say, look, we are suffering. We cannot afford to pay these fees which they are asking for, the 170. You have water bills, you have electricity bills, you have rent, all kinds of bills. Okay? So if you calculate, look, if in KAMWALA, if you have maybe, let's say, 21,000 households, if only one household contributes maybe something like a 50 kwacha, it will be more than enough for any company that does garbage collection to collect and even pay its workers and have a surplus. Okay? But this was a crime syndicate. When these companies, where they collect, they used to share with their top cadres. Those top cadres are the ones now who are crying foul to say, no, the the UPND are intimidating us in markets. They want to kick us out. No, we don't want to kick them out. What we want to kick out is those bad seeds who continue to undermine the presidential directive by President Hakainde, His Excellency, to say, no, we are still in charge, we are still eating. Those people who want to undermine the authority of the state are the ones who are going to be dealt with. So reforms will be there. I can't preempt them here because I do not make decisions as an individual councillor. We sit as a chamber, all 38 councillors, plus the mayor and the deputy mayor, and we make resolutions which even Honorable Gary Nkombo, who's our minister, has to have some kind of input and oversight over what we do in the chambers. So I cannot say myself which reforms are we going to put there, because those are subject. But
reforms are needed.
Yes, reforms are needed, but those are subject to the proposal and approval of key stakeholders in the Ministry of the Local Government as well as Lusaka City Council.
You are not the spokesperson of the party, but I feel, because you are a young person and you can add your voice or your perspective. Today, the accusations that are coming from people accusing your party and the president that you've drifted away from the promises that you made to Zambian people, that in his cabinet or in the cabinet of the UPND, he was going to appoint more women and more young people, youths. People are crying foul that they have been tricked, they have been dribbled. Your take on that?
You see, the first thing that we have to know is that the president can only appoint ministers from the elected candidates. Okay? He can't appoint outside parliament. That is the law. Okay? So he has to appoint from those that were voted for. And of course, the majority of people that were voted for cannot, not majority of them are not 35 and below. But it is wrong to say that no youths have been appointed, because the youths are there. You have seen them for themselves. You saw the list. In fact, the other day I was on some pages. There were 4 or 5 or 7, is it, that were identified? Okay, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, our new Minister of Foreign Affairs, being one of them. So I think there's inclusivity in the new cabinet. It's not fair to say that President Hakainde has not appointed youths. He's appointed from what he was given. What we need, community, is people like you youths contest to be leaders. It's a free country. If young people are not contesting to become MPs, they're not contesting to become councillors, how do they expect to be appointed as ministers? So there has to be this interest. Of course, I'm aware of the challenges. As a youth, I'm aware of the challenges which the youths face when it comes to leadership. It's not easy to contest. It's not easy to be adopted because of the various challenges which come with the issues of contesting and adoption and election. Okay, there are costs attached to that, and I'm afraid youths, we don't have too much disposable money to be able to campaign and sell ourselves. But my hope going into the future is that we will have more youths that will be contesting, and that will allow our leaders to be able to have a much larger pool of youths from which they can choose from. I'm for the idea. I'm a member of the Youth for Parliament, by the way. That's one of the most progressive non-government organizations which are spearheading the issue of youths entering into politics so that we can be able to give ideas of leadership to this country. I'm part of that organization. Honorable Kangombe Sesheke is part of that organization. So we are passionate about youth leadership. And I want to tell you to say that as far as Lusaka City Council chambers is concerned, we have 98% of the councillors that are there now. They are youths. Okay, out of 38, we have, I think, about 34 or so that are youths. So you can see that coming from the grassroots, coming from local government, I think we have a larger pool of councillors that are coming in, and I think it's the same for most of the districts. I have friends who are in Kitwe City Council, Ndola City Council, some of them are in Kehema. We have young mayors. Look at my good friend in Chipata, okay, George Mwanza. He's only 27. He's a mayor. Look at my good friend in Kafiwe, Bumba Malambo, okay, she's only 29. She's a youth. There she is. She's a chairperson. We have Mike Mwenda in Mwandi. Okay, he's a chairperson. He's only about 28. So it is good that local government and grassroots youths are coming up, and eventually in the future, these are some of the people who are going to lead. Remember, we're only looking at a 5-year cycle. So we have youths that are in positions of leadership. We have youths that are in the cabinet. And I think the onus is upon us as youths to be able to enter the political sphere and be able to put ourselves up for election if we have the ideas. It's a free country. It's no longer the brutal regime that it was during the PF. This is now a free country. Everyone is free to participate in the governance of the country. And I think youths are the main drivers and the engines of economic development. And I would urge them to participate. I'm urging you yourself, comrade from media. It is not strange for people who are in media to enter politics. They make very good politicians. So you should consider that as well.
As we conclude, comrade, Parliament opens tomorrow. A lot of expectations. A lot is at stake. What are some of the expectations that you like to see, and also the speech that the President will be able to give to Parliament tomorrow?
I think this Parliament should be expected to be a listening Parliament. A Parliament that listens to the cries of the Zambian people.
When you say this Parliament should be a listening Parliament, are you insinuating that the past Parliament was not listening?
No. The PF Parliament. The PF
no, that was not the PF Parliament.
That was the PF dominated.
We had UPND members of Parliament.
I'm defining it by the majority of seats. That was a PF-controlled Parliament. That was a deaf Parliament. It was an arrogant Parliament. That is a Parliament that wanted to push the draconian Bill 10. What I used to call, I came here on Muvi TV to call that bill a satanic bill. And even today, I still stand to say that that was a satanic bill. We had satanic MPs in that Parliament coming from the PF. These Satanists wanted to make this country a dictatorship by virtue of passing a Bill 10. We don't want such kind of a Parliament. This is this new Parliament, the New Dawn Parliament. It's a New Dawn Parliament. In the New Dawn Parliament that is dominated by the UPND, we want to have a Parliament that listens to the people. We don't want a Parliament like the PF Parliament that removed meal allowances. And I'm glad that what's her name again? The running mate for former President Lungu, what's her name? Luo. I'm glad she's gone. Okay? I'm glad Luo is gone, because Luo was at the front of removing meal allowances.
We are told that was a collective agreement. Agreement. She's not here also to defend herself.
The youth voted against her as running mate. They voted against her as running mate, including our president, because she messed with the meal allowances. So let's have a Parliament that is a listening Parliament, a Parliament that is going to pass laws that are progressive, not laws that are going to injure the people, not laws that are going to rob the country of its resources. We want a Parliament that listens to the least person there in the ground, from Mandevu, from Mufurila, from Kitwe Ndola, all corners of Zambia, Livingstone, in Porokoso. the MPs should be able to go back to their constituencies and converse with the people and say, what are the challenges that we are facing in these constituencies? What kind of laws can we pass? Because remember, the parliament is called a people's assembly for a reason, because not all of us 18 million Zambians can go into parliament and say, let's pass laws. It will never be done. We need representatives who can listen to the ideas and upscale those ideas or laws, proposals to parliament, so that the laws can be passed which are going to function for you and me. So they have our full support. We have it's very good that we have the numbers. We have the numbers at least to a majority to be able to pass most of the laws that are needed in order to say that to see that this country functions and we get back to democracy as it was envisioned to be.
Comrade Simataa, your concluding remarks and your last word to people in your ward who now wants you to deliver. Maybe you can appeal to them. There are people that don't have patience, who've seen the opposition, each and every appointment that the president has made. There are people that, have had, some qualms with them. We have Mr. Binoculars, who was able to see through his binoculars and be able to point at one or two things. And members of the UPND said it is too early for people to start criticizing and wanting us to deliver. Your take on that?
I think Mr. Binoculars and his team are disgruntled. Okay? Those are just...
That was just an example that I gave.
Yes.
We have a PEP president.
All of them are disgruntled. You see, they are still dealing with the shock of losing an election, okay? They are going through a grieving period. So we must allow them to grieve. We must allow them to vent, okay? But anyway, that is democracy. And that's the most beautiful thing that President Hakainde, His Excellency, has brought to Zambia again. They are free to speak. They are not being harassed. If we were still under their regime, you are UPND, then you go on spouting things like that, you'd be in cells by now. But that is democracy. They are allowed to vent. They are allowed to speak. But of course, there should be limits. But anyway, they are exercising their freedom of expression. But coming back to your question, what is to be expected? What is our message to the people of Zambia? Not only my ward, because a ward is only part of the larger picture, which is Zambia, and the problems are similar. I think my message to the people in KAMWALA Ward 5, my message to the people of Lusaka City, and my fellow youths, Zambians at large, is I think let's give the government of President Hakainde Hichilema time to settle in office and put things in order and begin to fulfill some of the promises that were made. Okay? We have inherited a government that has been looted to the ground. We've inherited over $27 billion. We've inherited a budget which is 60% going to salaries, 40% going to debt. We've inherited a nation where the majority of youths, is it 80% or so, have got qualifications but are unemployed. Doctors, teachers, professionals of all sorts do not have jobs. The cry of the youth out there, of the Zambian, is that, can I have a job as soon as possible so that I can begin to take care of my family, so that I can begin to do something in life? We sympathize and understand those things, because even myself as a youth, in the struggle to ensure to say that the UPND formed power, I was rendered jobless, because you can't be a politician in this country and working for any kind of private or government for that matter. A lot of youths sacrificed their jobs. Some businesses were sacrificed. Others lost their businesses. They were chased out of markets and stations because they were fighting for what is right. All these people need some kind of compensation. Everyone who voted for Bali needs some kind of appreciation. And we are going to come up with programs which just do not benefit a few, but benefit everyone, including you, Comrade Kelvin Chfokolo, who's from the media fraternity. Your voice has been restored, by the way. Never again are you going to be harassed or threatened as Muvi TV to be closed because you aired maybe sentiments which do not, which the ruling party do not take kindly. No, a listening government must be able to take criticism, constructive criticism, listen to the critics. What are they saying? Perhaps we have gone wrong somewhere. Let us see things right and see how we move forward as a country.
Comrade Mainda Simataa, thank you so much for making an appearance on the special assignment. Wishing you all the best as you continue to serve the people of KAMWALA Ward 5 and the people of Zambia at large.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chfokolo. Thank you, Muvi TV, and thank you, viewers. It has been an honor to be here.
There you have it. This has been the special assignment. Thursday's edition it is. And my guest has been Mainda Simataa, who is KAMWALA Ward 5 councillor, talking about councils in the New Dawn government. My name is Kelvin Tabula. Chief Focal will be back tomorrow, Friday, with a Friday's edition of the special assignment.